Good morning. Happy Friday. It's August 1st, if you can believe it. Holy moly. Tariff Day in the day of our Lord, in the year of our Lord, Donald Trump. Tariff Day starts, Ted. But again, nothing more boring than talking about tariffs. But, I guess the trade war with the whole world starts today. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You're tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI Show for short, because obviously we bring you way too much information. We're live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please be sure to hit the like and the follow button, the subscribe button, wherever you're consuming this content. It goes a long way to help out our little show. So on today's show, we're going to have a generational discussion. I don't know so much about debate, except for maybe, when certain generations start, when they stop, when a new one begins, whatever. But the gist of the story is how people around my age and Ted's age, we're kind of screwed in the job market. And coincidentally, Ted and I are screwed in the job market. So this is applicable to us. Maybe it's applicable to you. It seems, Ted, I think from the audience, just kind of gauging the Rumble chat as well as the YouTube chat, I feel like most of the audience is kind of in our age demographic. So this probably hits close to home for a lot of people. So we'll talk about that, what this whole ageism in jobs, in the job market, despite supposedly a more improved job market in the U.S. We'll talk about that. Then we'll head over to El Salvador for just a moment, where I guess you can be presidente forever, Ted, if you can win. Maybe it's more democratic.
Presidente.
El Presidente. You can do that forever. I guess I don't know if it's more democratic or I don't know, or kind of leans towards dictatorship. I don't know. We'll tell you what that news is in El Salvador. Then we'll have this. I don't think it'll be much of a debate, more so a discussion, but we'll head over to Pennsylvania. I know we've got some listeners out in PA about this controversial gay couple, one of whom is a convicted pedophile, and they crowdfunded to become dads. They got a surrogate, biological kids, or kid at least. So there's a conversation to be had there. Like, should
are there non-biological kids?
Yeah, of course. People have
Robo
kids.
Children?
People that are, well, you can have children that are not your biological children. That's what adoption is. That's the whole point of.
I thought all human beings were biological.
No, not your own biological children, but I don't know which of the gay men fathered the child.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, this is a gay married couple. One of them is a convicted pedo. So to me, it becomes a question of natural rights versus American laws and loopholes. And people are getting really riled up about this, about whether or not, if you're a convicted pedo, a pedo, as it were, should you be allowed to have a child? I guess we'll discuss that. We'll touch on a crazy, wild Delta flight that sent dozens of people to the hospital because of turbulence. I don't have much to say about that other than it's newsworthy that it was apparently just.
There's a lot to say about that, actually.
I don't have much to say. It's apparently just a horrible incident.
It's going to happen more and more. Yeah, it is. Well, the skies are getting less friendly. We're going to be severe turbulence that could be fatal and catastrophic is far more likely to occur now because of climate change.
Well, there's that. I don't know. The turbulence happens, so for me.
You can die.
And then we'll cap off the week with, I guess it's kind of a feel good story about some gems, some precious gems that were returned to its native homeland of India by the UK, and some wealthy folks, some scions to wealth in the UK that were actually that inherited them after they were sacked from India. And then they were, I guess handed down and they were going to sell them. But the gems go home. We remember, Ted, there was a lot of discussion about, I forget the name of the crown jewel on the Queen Elizabeth's crown.
That is the Kohinoor diamond. And it is a very famous gem that has been stolen repeatedly by the Persians, by the Afghans, by the Sikhs, and finally the Brits. And it's been a spoil of war. It's a very storied diamond.
Yeah, there was so the Brits have control of that
want it back.
Particular diamond. It belonged to, well, I don't know. I know that
it's Afghan.
When it's an Afghan jewel. Mm-hmm. I remember during the death of Queen Elizabeth that a lot of people in Africa were saying it should be returned to Africa.
Well, I don't know why, because I don't think it was. I don't think so. But all right,
I don't know. I thought
the Africans have a claim.
Gem. I don't know. I don't remember which African country, but I remember there was a lot of hubbub. I'm not a royal watcher, so I don't really know a whole lot about that. But in this instance, these gems go home to India. So I guess that's kind of a happy ending to gem stories. It's like I don't know, some kind of special Buddhist gem. I don't know. We'll tell you. We'll tell you about it towards the end of the show, because I guess that's kind of a feel good story. So with that, let's head to the news.
So, Manila, I was very excited to talk about this story. Generational demographics, and specifically the plight of Generation X, is really where I kind of started my career back in the 90s. And my bestest-selling book of all time was Revenge of the Latchkey Kids. Came out in 1996, bounced all over the bestsellers list at the time, helped me buy my first apartment, ironically, because it was about how Generation X was screwed. And basically at the time, I came up with the concept of generational leapfrog. And that's a phenomenon where basically a rich generation doesn't pass the torch to the next generation. They skip over them and pass the torch to their kids. Now, a good example of a generation like that got skipped over is the silent generation, who were kind of dominant in the 1950s. They kind of got screwed every single way. Well, now it's Generation X. Generation X basically when Gen X were kids, it was a bad time to be a kid. That's when they were cutting school budgets. It's when they were decided to start trying children as adults. All the movies came out, like The Omen, that showed little kids as evil. When Gen Xers were teenagers, that's when Saturday Discipline School, Get Tough on Kids, and all that stuff started coming up. When Gen Xers went to college, that's when federal grants were replaced with student loans, and basically college started becoming expensive. When Gen X got into the workforce, that's when the unemployment rate started going up, and now Generation X is, I'm as old as you can pretty much be. You can be 63 and be Gen X now. But
I'm the youngest of what Gen X can be.
That's right. I'm Gen X 1.0, and we can argue about when it starts and stops. In fact, Manila and I had a little skirmish about that before the show. But but that's not really the important thing here. So let me read this story. So now Gen X finds itself in a challenging position. Now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, they're supposed to be at the peak of their careers, calling the shots and cashing in on our years of experience. But actually, that's not happening due to ageism. Jobs are scarce. There's intense competition from boomers who are refusing to leave the workforce, and they're passing the torch to their kids, the millennials. And of course, there's the Zoomers, the Gen Z people. At this age, Gen X should be hitting its stride. However, we're not hitting our career goals, and a lot of us are failing. So we were the first latchkey kids who grew up to be adaptable. we were also the first internet kids. But in fact, I had a computer in my classroom in high school. Despite our resiliency, many of us are stuck. We're not slackers anymore, like in the 1990s. We never were slackers. That's why I titled my book Revenge of the Latchkey Kids, because I knew we weren't slackers. We were hard. We had to work hard because no one was giving us anything.
No one helped us. That was the whole.
We were the first downwardly mobile generation, but we're still getting. It's still crazy. You'll see charts on the internet about like this generation versus that generation, and literally they won't even mention us. They've unpersoned us. Gen X doesn't even exist in a lot of these articles. Anyway,
but Ted, because we were feral children, we were literally like the feral generation.
Well, that's not why. I mean, it's just that they didn't like
Everyone
us.
forgot about us.
It's like, well, exactly. So layoffs in tech, media, and other sectors have hit us hard. In the creative fields in particular, for example, a photographer or a journalist in their 50s might find their skills labeled obsolete due to TikTok. Even in corporate roles, the push for digital natives has left seasoned Gen Xers scrambling to prove that they aren't dinosaurs. And although there are many challenges, we are not going to retire because we can't afford to. Ageism is hitting us with a vengeance. Employers often assume that we're too stodgy, and they just don't want to pay us what we're worth either. Similar to how people view boomers, management thinks that we can't keep up with tech, although, hey, we're tech native, you assholes. Now with AI and automation exploding, hiring managers are leaning towards Gen Z or Millennials, viewing them as more adaptable and cheaper. For women, it's a double whammy. An Xer lady in her 50s might face coded rejections like she's overqualified or not a cultural fit, masking their true agenda, which is that they don't want the lady to be out taking care of her kid or not paying enough attention to work. Xers talk about dyeing their hair or scrubbing their graduation dates from their LinkedIn profile. I've thought about doing that.
I've done that already.
I kind of have an advantage, Manila, because of my checkered educational history. I was supposed to graduate in 1985. I graduated in 1991, so I look like I'm like maybe mid-50s. Doesn't help because these fucking ageist fuckers don't want anyone over 40.
Well, I'm the double whammy. I'm a Xer female.
Yep. Yes, you are. So, and some are stuck in a quandary, perceived as too experienced to be entry or middle level, but too old for leadership roles that boomers refuse to leave. And of course, there's economic uncertainty, post-pandemic layoffs, AI, automation. And then there's people like you, Manila, stuck in the sandwich phase, supporting kids, paying for college, and taking care of aging parents, leaving very little wiggle room to relocate or retrain. Competition is fierce. Below us are the Millennials and the Xers, who bring tech fluency and fresh energy, no question, undercutting salary expectations. Meanwhile, the boomers are squatting in the C-suite, delaying our shot at the top. They're not delaying it, they're killing it. And Gen X is stuck in a tug-of-war, accused of being out of touch. And, I just saw the first modern Gen X versus millennial movie. It's called Old Dads. It's very good. Highly recommend it. It's a comedy. And basically, even there, this guy, he's like a cranky Gen Xer. And at one point at work, he's working with a bunch of much younger people. And someone goes, "Okay, boomer." And he's like, "Generation X." Like literally, we're called boomers. And nothing could be more insulting to us than that because we hated the boomers.
Oh, okay.
We feel a little more sorry for them now because we realize that they tried to change the world and have revolution. I used to be pissed off that they didn't.
I meant to watch this. This is a Netflix movie starring Bill Burr.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
That's okay.
It's truly outstanding. It is a great movie. Really, really fun. Highly recommend it.
Right there.
Yeah, go watch Bill Burr. Great movie. Anyway, so let's obviously I've been documenting this my entire career. So basically, we're talking about people who are basically in their 40s, 50s, and low 60s. And I guess the thing is, there's literally nothing that can be done about it, right? I mean, this is just, my mom, I remember telling me this as a kid, explained to me about demographics. And she said, your generation is so much smaller. People, basically the birth rate fell off a cliff after Kennedy was assassinated.
Well, and the divorce rates began to rise.
Right. And so at that point, because we were overshadowed, basically whatever age you were as a baby boomer, if you're a true boomer, like Donald Trump, born in 1946, perfect baby boom age, everything always comes up perfect for you. When you're young, they're building new schools and they're building amusement parks, and life is getting more interesting, and they're expanding the suburbs. When you enter the workforce, the economy is expanding. It's easy to find a job. When you're in the workforce, the economy is still good, so you can stay at the same job or move around and get paid more and more. When you retire, Social Security is there for you. They're giving you raises and all that. It's like, when I was a little kid, old people were in real trouble, like really old people. They were silent Gen. I used to be a cashier at the supermarket, and there literally were little old ladies who were in their 70s coming in to buy cat food who didn't own a cat because they were eating it. And and then so after this kind of elderly poverty that we used to see in the 70s, the government changed it up and decided to, institute good cost of living increases for Social Security and pump up the system. And that came to an end to the point that by the time I wrote Revenge of the Latchkey Kids, the over 65 segment had the highest incomes of any segment. Now, bear in mind, that included retirees. People were making more money not working than Gen Xers were making working. So but now you can see how, again, to be Gen X sucks. I'm 62 years old next month. Well, actually this month. And what's going to happen is already we're being told that the Social Security Trust Fund is going to be
done 2033
insolvent in just 8 years, right? So when I turn 70, the very year that I'm meant to be fully vested in Social Security, because you're not fully vested until you're 70 now, they increased that for us. The boomers, they got the full thing earlier,
right?
But for us, they decided to fuck us, and so basically, whatever age it is to be us is gonna suck. And basically,
for you, Ted, can you go to France? I mean, the yellow vests,
yes.
The yellow vests were fighting about this, right? About the retirement age. The yellow vests were, was it? Were 63?
Yeah. 62. 62. And the French, you can go to France. And of course, the healthcare system is so much better. So for example, if I were to move to France, I haven't paid into the French system. So I'd be starting from scratch. So because I'd be starting from scratch because I haven't been working in France and having anything withheld, I would, every time I went to see the doctor or had an operation or had an x-ray, I would, Manila, have to pay $8. I'm sorry, €8. €8. So even if I went
that's a lot. That's steep.
Even if I had to have even like if I had to have like brain surgery, that's €8. If you go to just see a doctor, you're whatever, and they have house calls too, €8. So I think it's unconscionable, and I will join the rioters in the streets to demand a reduction of those €8.
Maybe 7.
Yeah,
7 seems like
take on them. I'm going to fight the man. So
the French have no idea how good they got it.
But here's the part too that, I mean, this is all totally pointless because no one is going to change this because no one cares. And the people who are in a position to change it are lining their own pockets for the way things are now. These photos are totally my childhood.
I mean, I remember all of this. All of this is this was my childhood too, because not much changed in the 80s, right?
No,
from
really.
The 70s to the 80s, not much has changed. The bunny ears and all of that, and everything was analog. Nothing. There was no social media. There was. I don't mean for this to be reminiscing.
Thank God there
I
was no
know.
social media.
I don't mean for this conversation to become this wistful, reminiscing of the 80s, the 70s, 80s, 90s. But I would take 1995 over 2025 any day.
In a second.
Any day. People, the society, not only was society completely different. I mean, you can't, it's unrecognizable. The society we have today, if you got on a time machine, pick somebody up from 1985.
Let's talk about it, right? I mean,
and bring them here
you get
to 2025.
So for example,
what the fuck?
In New York City, right? We used to have track fires on the subway all the time. Why? Because of newspapers. Because people had so many newspapers blowing around. They'd blow off the platform and they'd end up on the tracks. They'd catch fire. Okay, well, no more, right? So if you think about like what New York looked like, or any city, right? Now everybody's walking around. Everyone's on their phone, right?
On their phone, yeah, of course.
Right. Not true back then. It's like if you got onto a subway or a bus anywhere in the country now, it's like people are on their phone, or hell, when they're driving, they're on their phone.
Yes.
Back then, everyone was reading a newspaper, okay, sure. Or two. Everybody, there were special ways to fold them. And
I remember that even in the early 2000s in New York City.
So that might not sound like a big deal, but we had a communal experience. In New York City, there were only 4 or 5 papers, right? Including like the Spanish language ones. So you were reading one of those, or probably 2 of those if you were a reasonably educated person. Now, that's a communal experience. Every New Yorker is reading one of these 5 publications. Now, I guarantee you that no 2 people are doing the same thing on their phones, right? They're all completely, so we're all atomized. We're all in our little world.
So that's part of it, right?
People used to go to bars. You didn't get, sex occurred from bars. It didn't occur from a dating app, right? It's like, and so it allowed for circumstance, like weird shit. Like you'd meet people, like now you're like, I don't know. That woman, she's a leftist libertarian.
I didn't like his resume.
I'm looking for a Marxist socialist with a tinge of Democrat. And like, I can get that. Right. But, I might end up with a Republican back then because she's cute. And so like, you have more cross-pollination culturally, politically, and so on. There were a lot more jobs. Like
so I think that's part of the reason. I think to that end, Ted, I think that's part of the reason why people like you and I, and the article that you just read, why we aren't able to land jobs. It's obviously not for a lack of experience, we have, the proof is in the pudding, right? For people like you and I, we work in media. The proof is literally right there for anybody to see that we're here, capable of doing said job that we're applying for. Mm-hmm. But the atomization, everybody lives in their own little silos. They have other media to reinforce whatever it is whatever their opinion is, right or wrong, to reinforce that thought, because you can just go to the social media apps and go read the things that reinforce whatever it is you think is correct. And so when you go to look at resumes, or when you just go look at other people out in public, you have these biased opinions, right? If you're an HR person, if you're a young millennial HR person, or even now, like the eldest of the Zoomers.
Here's the thing, Manila, they're
biased.
Not only are they biased, they're baselessly biased. Millennials don't know any Gen Xers. They literally don't. They literally have never. They've never. A millennial has never had a beer with a Gen Xer. They don't know us.
I don't think that's true.
No, it is true.
Think it's millennials that are the problem. I think
millennials
the
are
young
the problem.
Zoomers.
The Zoomers aren't as bad. The Zoomers.
The Zoomers are the ones calling us boomers.
No, it's the millennials.
Like I'm at the very cutoff. The last, based on census data, born in 1980. I'm at the cutoff, right? I'm at last of the Jimmy Carter babies. That's supposedly census data cutoff. I'm exactly that bridge generation, or that bridge group of babies. Just that group, that like those born from, let's say, 78 to 80.
I get it.
That we have maybe older siblings or aunts and uncles like I did that were solidly Gen X.
Yeah, solidly Gen X.
Solidly Gen X.
In the workplace.
But then we grew up with our friends who are older
in
millennials.
The workplace, Manila. Millennials, they don't know any Xers. They don't want to know. They don't know about us. They don't know what we have to offer. They don't talk to us. They ignore us. Studio, it's like we don't exist.
At RT Studios, we had a lot of, I would say most of my colleagues were millennials. And I don't mean the ones that are turning 40. I mean the ones that are
people who
like my little
30.
brother's age, who are in their mid 30s.
People who are currently like 30 years
old
would be perfect.
And I had a couple younger producers who are just now turning 30. So they're the very tail end of millennial going into Gen Z. So I personally know a couple of them, but I think I was the anchor.
Well, all I'm saying is, but overall,
generally speaking,
I
would say they probably don't.
And places like that. And so they don't know what we have to offer. I remember in Gen X, we were different. I remember we started, a group of us started a new magazine in New York called POV. And we all got together. And one of the things we were all dudes. We were all Gen X. We're all sitting around at this bar called Live Bait on 23rd Street. And we all start laughing. It's like, what's missing here? And I was like, ladies. And then what else is missing here? Old dudes. And we're like, okay, job one, get ladies, get old dudes. And we reached out and hired. Our oldest guy was 83 years old, our oldest writer. And he was fantastic. We loved him. We sought out.
Yeah.
We valued the contribution of the older people because we knew they had wisdom and experience that we couldn't have. And therefore we wanted to bring them on board to get that.
That's also an Asian perspective.
Millennials do not believe in that. Millennials don't know. They don't think that anyone who's older, including boomers, have anything to teach them.
Anything to offer. Well, so for me, I get that I fall into a mishmash of categories, being Asian American. You're raised in the Asian culture to have reverence for your elders and not only respect,
I'm not talking about reverence. I'm talking about
understand. Interest. No, I'm saying to understand that the old people have great wisdom to offer you. And you need to think about those things, whether it's about life or career or whatever. So for me, being an Asian American, even though I grew up with millennials, I have always had interest in what people older than me had to say because they've just lived more life and they've seen more things and they've done more things. And so for me, that's me personally. Now, would I say most end millennials and eldest Gen Zers, Zoomers, do they think that way? Probably not, which is why we're seeing, these young tech CEOs not hiring people with experience like you and I. But then on the other end of this, Ted, all those top level C-suite 70-year-olds are still there. It's like the housing market, right? I look at this very similarly to the housing market. Why these little Gen Zers are complaining that these boomers won't get out of their homes. Like, I can't afford to buy a home because there's no one's building new homes, and these boomers won't leave. They just want to stay in their giant empty nest home. So it's kind of the same problem, right?
Well, that's not actually
boomers
true. The boomers would love
the boomers won't leave their house.
No, they'd love to sell their homes, but they're locked in.
But they can't go anywhere.
They're locked into these low interest mortgages. They have
but that's my
2.75. They can't.
Regardless
if they
of
buy
why.
Something else, it's going to be 7.
I'm at that rate, and as an Xer, but that's beside the point. I don't care the reason why. The point is they're not leaving their homes. I get that the boomers aren't leaving their empty nest homes to go wherever, because one, there's no affordable properties for seniors on fixed incomes to go to, but that's what the Gen Zers who are starting out their lives are complaining about is, well, I would love to buy this old home built in the 1940s or 50s, but that boomer in there won't leave. Same thing with the boomers not leaving their jobs now. They're not retiring, but also for economic reasons, because they can't really afford to retire in this state either. So,
correct.
So us being stuck in the middle, being too experienced, I put that in quotes,
and unappreciated.
Right. We're constantly getting screwed because we can't move up for those who still have jobs. The young, for people to say, oh, the Gen Xers, they can go do a startup themselves. Let me tell you, I had a deep insider view as to how Silicon Valley and Silicon Beach and SoCal, how that world works, Ted. And I will tell you, it is definitely biased against anyone older than me. That's
Manila,
like we're the
5 years ago, I was doing a story about the troubles at Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. And so they had at the time 4,800 employees in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Guess how many of those employees were aged over 35? Don't take long.
So they'd be 40 now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So at the time, over 35? I don't
40
know.
Out of 4,800.
Five people.
0.
No, that can't
None.
be.
Not one. None. And they thought this was perfectly fine. They said,
well, because, like, for example, Mark Zuckerberg had,
famously,
and this is meta, obviously.
What he said famously, yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg had Sheryl Sandberg, who was older.
Yeah.
She's ardently Gen X.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Facebook, but like the thing is, even he said, when he was 25, he said, if you're over 30, you can't really think well.
Maybe that's what's wrong with him, is he's aged out. It's like
yeah, that's the issue.
He's over 30.
He can't think. Apparently, he can't think his way into a good haircut, despite his billions.
Well, that's why he's reinventing himself, Ted, because he's
as a kung fu master.
He's among the eldest millennials, right? Mm-hmm. I think he's like 41 or something, like maybe 40, but definitely over 40 at this point. And he's like reinventing himself as like some surfer, kung fu master, whatever. Easy to do when you're a tech billionaire, but what about all the schmoes beneath you? Are like, now that Mark is over 40, is he willing to hire people over 30? Is he willing to? I mean,
don't know. I do not know.
But the job market seems to say no. It just does. It seems to say no. Either I've heard that already, Ted. I've been looking for work for the past 5-6 months.
Oh, it's
right?
maddening. I applied for a job here at the local NPR station. Good job. And it's maddening when they turn you down and you see that the job is still listed. And it's a job that it's like they didn't even give it to someone else, right? They literally like, no, of all the people. So you riddle me this, Manila. Why should I not be the politics editor at WNYC? Be behind the scenes, and they want someone who lives and breathes political news, who's experienced working in political news from all different sides. Someone who can be fair ideologically, and I tick all the boxes. I've been a top editor at a news organization multiple times, but I'm convinced it's because I'm an old white guy.
Well, okay, I don't know if it's one-upping, but at least match you this. And I waited until I got the response, which I just got the response this morning.
Oh, good.
I got so desperate looking for work, Ted, that I applied to the LA Times.
Say it isn't so.
A2 Brute. So here's what they were looking for.
You wanted to go wait, as a breast cancer survivor, you were going to go work for Dr. Pat, even though he murders breast cancer victims?
I'm that desperate looking for work that I know how to do. So let me tell you what they were looking for. They were looking for a DC.
By the way, he only hires people under 35.
They are looking for a DC bureau reporter.
Perfect.
Okay. So here's me, born and bred Angelino, been out here for 10
Asian.
Fellow Asian. I've been
albeit from Laos, which just got hit with the biggest tariffs of them all.
I'm not from Laos.
I don't know if you heard that.
I've never set foot in Laos. You've been to Laos. I've never been to Laos.
But
so I thought you
have a Laotian tariff flood.
That's true. I thought I would be a shoo-in, right? LA native. I understand the politics back home in California. Mm-hmm. I understand the politics in DC. I lived and breathed
LA
politics.
Times was your home paper? Yeah, no.
Literally was my home paper that I grew up reading my entire life. You still have that insane
accent?
I do?
I'm just fucking with you. Go ahead.
So here's me, like, having been a Capitol Hill reporter on television.
All right. What did they say?
These are my credentials, Ted. I've been on the Hill. I was a credentialed reporter for many years.
No,
I've been a print reporter for many years.
You're perfect.
Like, what the fuck? So today, they said, while my skills seem impressive, they've decided not to move forward with my candidacy.
Well, that's just a generic. I thought you were going to say something that they said something interesting, like we don't need no Laotian extraction need apply.
No, but
it's the glasses.
I went as far as emailing the bureau chief here, mm-hmm. and the guy that handled, I don't know, two guys that are in the bureau here. And they seemed very warm and friendly to me. And they were like, wow, great, whatever. And I thought, okay, cool. Maybe they'll actually consider me. Did you ask them to put in a
good word for you?
Of course I did. I don't know them, but I was like, come on. I'm an LA native. I understand not only LA politics, but California politics, which is what you want. You want somebody.
You just got the generic. We've decided to go in a different direction, in a direction that is not you. It is not in your direction.
Yes. It is not a Manila chance.
From you.
So why would that, how much more perfect of a candidate could you possibly find?
So, why do you think they said no?
I have no fucking clue.
It could be the Sputnik thing.
I mean, I don't hide my resume. I know,
Nor do I.
You can Google my name. You'll know it. It could be that I'm persona non grata.
There's no point hiding it because it'll all come out.
No, of course not. I'm either persona non grata because of, I'm a Russian propagandist, apparently.
Right. Or you're too old.
Or I'm just too old
or
and a mom.
Or you're Gen X. Okay, I guarantee you, same exact person, same exact resume. You're 32. They give it to you.
I'm sure. And the bureau, the new bureau chief,
especially if you're black, then it's great. And
the new bureau chief of the LA Times here in DC, he appears to be a millennial, a mid-smack millennial.
Surprise.
He just got the job because I did my research too. Well,
you buried the lead. You buried the lead.
I needed to build it up. This is not a news story. This is a story. The bureau chief, I looked up and I thought, am I risking screwing myself over by reaching out to him directly?
No.
I looked him up.
That never hurts.
He just got the job like this spring, like March or something.
Did he call you wizened crone?
Probably. He's like, this old hag just emailed me.
Yeah.
He appears to be what I would gauge.
It's terrifying. I don't even know how. We might want to interview her because she may be the oldest human on Earth.
Right. He's like, she was in the Middle East almost 20 years ago. How old would that be?
Did the Middle East even exist 20 years ago?
He was like, God, Dubai must have just been like sand and Bedouin, like goat herders, right?
Yeah. Did she meet Muhammad?
Right. Like, so I'm sure he did the math thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, almost 20 years. So she's got to be over 40 at college. She didn't put her graduation date.
On the other hand, she did have experience riding dinosaurs as a child.
That's true. So
and fighting saber-toothed tigers.
So and oddly, Ted, he's not the one that replied to the email. It was to him.
No, it's
and then I CC'd.
It's HR. You left your heart and your resume in El Segundo.
No. I CC'd I forget what the guy's position was, but he's not the bureau chief, but he appeared to be a Gen Xer. The Gen Xer replied to me and was warm and friendly to me because I looked up that guy too.
But
so I thought,
but the Gen Xer obviously is lucky to even still have his job.
Right. The Gen Xer emails me while CCing the new bureau chief, the young bureau chief. And I was looking at the bureau chief's picture and thinking, you've got to be fucking kidding me. You're too wet behind the ears to be a DC bureau chief.
Pat had his dingus daughter, who's 32, running the entire paper.
I would venture to say the new LA Times bureau chief is early to mid 30s at most.
Manila, look at the bright side. LA Times is going to be bankrupt by the end of next year.
I know. So when we did the news, I was in my heart. I was going. They haven't replied. They haven't told me yes or no. So part of me is like, well,
Dr. Pat's leaving. He's. I think Clovis is probably going to buy it and keep it in his portfolio.
So
we should move on. We've been it's 10:44 Eastern time here.
But this is just some bullshit and Ted, we're supposed to be having a great economy. Jobs are everywhere, abound.
That's what they say. Just throw one my way and your way. I'd be happy about that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's not spend much time on this. El Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele secured the right to seek indefinite reelection after his party-controlled Congress approved a sweeping constitutional reform that also extends presidential terms from 5 to 6 years. Bukele, who's 44 years old, he's been president since 2019. El Señor Presidente was reelected in 2024 with 85% of the vote. He now holds near total control over the country's institutions in what the opposition calls a dictatorship. In a fast-tracked vote, 57 out of 60 lawmakers passed measures allowing re-election without reservation, extending the presidential term from 5 to 6 years, doing away with a second round of voting in elections. Lawmakers also voted to synchronize legislative, presidential, and municipal elections, so they all take place at the same time. Fireworks erupted in the main square of San Salvador after this all happened. Thank you for making history, colleagues, said Assembly President Ernesto Castro. Hitler made history too. History is not always good. The reform also shortens the current presidential term by 2 years, moves general elections to March of 2027. This will allow Bukele to seek a longer new term earlier than scheduled if he wins. He, of course, is very popular for his heavy-handed campaign against criminal gangs, not to mention his own personal gulag that he rents out to Trump for migrants. He has also reduced violence in the country to historic lows. But, of course, he's guilty of a lot of human rights abuses. And there was a wave of arrests recently targeting human rights defenders because fuck those human rights defenders. What are they doing? Who do they think they are defending human rights? And government critics. Dozens of journalists and humanitarian workers have fled the country. So, yeah. I mean, it's a classic devil's bargain. So your country's dangerous. You're scared to walk around in the streets at night. So we can clean all that up, but you also are going to have total dictatorship. You will not be able to speak freely, and you will, you could possibly be kidnapped and thrown into a gulag. That's the trade-off.
So, well, is it more democratic, Ted? Is it arguable that it's more democratic, that there are no term limits?
Right. Well, no, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of people who oppose term limits as anti-democratic because they, if the will of the people is to elect.
Right.
But I mean, look, a lot of laws like that we don't think about. Like, for example, you can't be president if you're under 35 years of age. Well, what if we wanted to elect, some Gen Z person? We can't. That's not that's a good point.
Here's the but, though. But while the U.S. has term limits for POTUS, which some argue that Trump is trying to overturn, whatever. I don't buy that. But the ramifications
with that to make him. It's not the reason he's flirting with that is so that people think that they don't consider him a lame duck.
Right.
That's why.
It's not. Yeah, it's the ramifications of no term limits, though, look no further than Capitol Hill, when Dianne Feinstein was like dead in her wheelchair in her seat, like in the House, like
right,
like in the Senate, like she's just there, right? Like when you have that's the flip side to no term limits, right?
And the flip side to the flip side would be someone like Putin, right, who's been in for a long time,
right? So it's like,
but he's popular. Russians are happy with him,
right?
But of course, the flip side to the flip side to the flip side is Putin's going to die or get old, and there's no clear successor, right? So,
and the same thing with Xi Jinping, right? There's no real clear successor. So even though you might want to retire, you don't have any protege, right?
Yeah.
So there's a problem to that. Nayib Bukele is only 44. He's a millennial. He's the eldest of the millennials. He's only 44. Well, I don't know. He could be Gen X. He could be Gen Xer. But anyway,
I think he's frankly he's got too much game and too much swagger to be millennial. Millennials are drips. That guy's got to be one of ours.
He's yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
you know what? You're probably right.
Millennials are dead inside.
He's probably end Gen Xer. So okay. Point is, he's very young. Without term limits, is it more democratic that he theoretically can be elected 10 more times?
Maybe. I mean, the argument could be made. It's probably more democratic, small d democratic. What's making him an authoritarian is the methodology of his rule, not the methodology of his election. He certainly enjoys democratic legitimacy. It's just that the stuff that he's doing with his power is kind of terrifying. But it's a devil's bargain. We should keep going.
Yeah.
Let's get into the pedophile thing.
Pennsylvania story.
The pen pedos.
The pen pedo. No, just one of them is a pedo.
Pendos.
One is a pedo.
Two gay guys who crowdfunded their surrogacy journey, as they called it, are now raising a baby boy, despite the fact that one of the two dads, Brandon Riley Mitchell,
that one with the arrow pointed
sex offender. The two dudes, Logan Riley and Riley Mitchell, gained viral attention on the internet after they posted a video introducing their newborn son. But the story took a disturbing turn after Irish activist Derek Blighy reposted the video on July 27th.
Blighy.
B-L-I-G.
Bly.
If you say so. Prompting questions about one of the man's identity and background. According to the cops and the court records, the dude was convicted of felony child porn possession and one count of corruption of minors for exchanging 12,000 plus messages with a teenage male student while he was a teacher at Downingtown West High School in Pennsylvania. Those conversations included graphic sexual content, instructions to delete communications, and the transfer of nude photos and videos, some of which were recovered from Mitchell's electronic devices. Unfortunately, despite the seriousness of the charges, he was paroled about 2 months into his sentence. The unfortunately is not, I'm reading that. I don't know if it's unfortunate or not. Part of his sentencing included a requirement that he have no unsupervised contact with kids and that he give up teaching. Riley Mitchell went on to get a job as a chemist in Lancaster, in southern central Pennsylvania, where he's worked for the past 9 years. Under the current state law, adoption would have triggered mandatory background checks, home studies, and judicial review, disqualifying him from getting custody. He also would have been disqualified to be a foster parent under Pennsylvania law. In fact, he also would not be authorized to become a youth sports coach, which require criminal and sexual abuse background check. He also couldn't be a scouting leader either. But the couple hired a lady to carry a baby through a surrogacy agreement, so that created a loophole. The two guys launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise money to pay the surrogate for the kid, which then got promoted on his LinkedIn. So similar things have happened before. In LA, a few weeks ago, authorities removed 21 children, mostly infants and toddlers, from the home of a couple accused of child neglect and endangerment. 21 children. All the birth certificates listed the purchaser in the surrogacy agreement as the mother. Authorities became aware of this couple after one of the kids was taken to hospital with a traumatic brain injury. The kids were born via paid surrogates. There are currently pregnant women under agreement to give more children to the couple, including a Pennsylvania woman. At the root, California are considered surrogacy-friendly states, California and Pennsylvania. So there's a lot to unpack here. We don't have a lot of time to do it, unfortunately. Okay, let's go to this LA case first. Okay, Manila,
that's the couple right there.
This is your story. Yeah, I don't understand what the story is here. So why do they have 21 kids? How did that happen?
Okay, so this old Chinese dude and his much younger Chinese wife, Arcadia is not very far from where I grew up. So this was like this huge scandal. Like they have this big mansion in Arcadia, where allegedly people are saying that people are accusing them of somehow human trafficking, but these are their own biological children. You're
saying this couple?
Yes.
Basically, he had sex with her and she had 21 kids.
No. They farmed.
Whose kids are these?
Okay, listen. I'm telling you, this old man and this younger Asian wife of his farmed out their eggs to all these different surrogate mothers. Farmed out their embryos. Get it? They went to fertility clinics, froze his jizz and her eggs, made the embryo,
and then implanted them
into surrogate mothers to
and
carry.
Then they got the babies.
They rented
back.
the womb.
Rented
the womb.
And then they got the
21 times.
They got the babies back, and they were all living with them. And did they intend to raise them or sell them?
Nobody knows yet, because this was kind of
I guess they just
unknown.
were raising them.
They were just kind of raising them in this giant mansion of theirs in Arcadia, and they had nannies and all, like tons of nannies and
you would need
weird.
That, yeah.
So like it was a weird situation back home. This is like still an unfolding story. So these people, so it's a loophole because you can't put a cap on how many biological children by way of surrogacy. There is no cap on that in any state.
Okay, so there's no issue of pedophilia here.
Not with this couple.
The couple that's on the screen.
But apparently some of their babies are abused, and that's what.
Right. Okay,
that's what this story is.
All right. So now with the two gay guys.
So these people aren't
the two dads.
Pedos.
With the two dads.
So this
one guy, this
guy's the pedo.
Well, he was convicted, so we can safely say
he's
that
a pedo.
He basically was hitting on one of his students, underage, and sending him child porn and basically trying to groom him. Right.
That's his rap sheet right there. It says sexual abuse of children. I mean, he's a convicted pedophile, right?
Well,
in the state of Pennsylvania.
There's no evidence in the story that he ever laid a hand on a kid. Just
right.
Clear here.
But he's just at least. Well, there's at least not in the story we read. I haven't. He had possession of child pornography and
yes, and he transmitted it. He transmitted child pornography to this younger individual,
boy,
his student.
His student. So the story of surrogacy here and what the news coming out of Pennsylvania is, and Josh Shapiro, we know you watch, we know you listen.
Well, so it may not even be. So basically the state doesn't really care about him. He's just the partner, possibly of the jizz provider here, right?
No, I don't know. The thing is, so hold on. Let me finish. Don't interrupt. So this guy is the pedo. We don't know which dad these
is the
two
bio
husbands.
Dad.
Right. We don't know which one is the bio dad. So here they got an arrow where this news story shows an arrow at some point of which one the pedo is. It's the one with the glasses. He's the one that's the pedo, the convicted pedo.
Well, the neither of them looks like the baby who has a very sunny face.
Yeah. So pedo dad is the one with the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know which one is the bio dad of this surrogate baby, but the pedo parent is that guy. And that's the loophole.
We also don't know the source. It doesn't really matter. We don't know the source of the eggs either, right? Those could have been purchased from a clinic.
Yeah,
or it
irrelevant.
It could be her.
Irrelevant. Mm-hmm. The point of the story is pedo guy there with the glasses should not and would not be allowed to be anywhere near children if it was through adoption, if it was through foster care.
Well, wait.
You would be nowhere near children.
Well, certainly let's just say he already had a kid and then got caught.
And then became,
then got convicted. Pedo. He could still keep his kid. They don't take your kid out.
Right. So so the question here is, like I said at the top of the show, is I think the question is natural rights versus federal and local municipal laws. Like in Pennsylvania, there is a gap in the law that doesn't prevent guys like him from becoming I guess surrogate dad, or I don't because we don't know which dad is the bio dad.
He could become a father. Yeah.
Right. So,
But by the way, is there a law against there's no law against him doing it the old fashioned way. Let's say he decides to roll hetero style and meets a chick and impregnates her. That's not against the law.
Can I make a baby with you? That's not against the law.
Right.
It's a natural right as a human, right?
Well, it's just not against the law. That's all.
Right. Well, I view, if you want to be a parent, I view that as like a natural right as a human. Like, you want to procreate, you should be able to procreate. Or should you? That's the question. Like, that's my moral dilemma is, should you? I know Robbie's at work and he wants to, I think I could see on his face that he wants to say something.
Hi there. So I don't know if y'all can hear me or not, but no,
Yes, we can.
If you hang the pedophile, he doesn't get the chance to procreate or hurt any other kids. So literally just send him to the next world. I mean, that's how you solve this problem.
It's so nice to hear a voice of compassion from from my favorite Christian.
Hey, there's nothing more compassionate about protecting kids from pedophiles. If you have a mad dog and that dog is attacking people, the dog gets put down. This dude's a mad dog.
All right,
you hang him by his fat neck.
I thought that too. I was like,
you hang him by his fat neck till he's dead. Problem solved.
So wait, so you don't think? Let's assume that the pedo dad doesn't molest his own child that we see in the image there with the sun face. Should he be allowed to be a parent? Should pedophiles be allowed to be a parent?
Okay, I don't know how to make this any more clear. They should all be dead. I mean, this is how you solve this problem. If you molest kids, or if you try to groom a kid, if you try to be a Jeffrey Epstein type dude, you die.
What about someone who downloads pornography, child pornography?
If you're downloading porn, you're not the one making it. So I won't condemn you to death. But if you're the pedo who's making the porn and you're hurting these kids to do it, I have no problem with you going to meet Jesus. None whatsoever. That's how you solve this problem.
Well,
so this is
that's not where Manila and I are.
Well,
I understand that, but that's why I'm the right winger on the show, right? I mean, I am.
That's true. It is. I mean, look, it is very. I mean, it is disturbing. I don't know, by the way, at all whether someone who has this predilection, whether it's specific, like if you're into 12-year-olds.
No, dude.
Might you?
I will not normalize.
6-year-old. I don't know if that.
I will not normalize the MAPs. What they're trying to call them now, minor attracted persons.
Well,
that's what they're calling them now. You're a pedo. No, period. Full stop. You're a pedophile. You're disgusting. I'm not going to normalize that and say, oh, that's your, that's your preference. No, it's not a preference. Like that might be your preference, but it's disgusting.
It is a preference.
It's disgusting.
Jeffrey Dahmer's preference had a preference. He liked to eat people.
That's his Gary Brochet.
Pork, beef, chicken, or people.
No, back in the early 80s, Ted, you probably saw this on live TV. There was this pedophile. I can't think of his name. He was a karate instructor, and he was molesting some little boy.
Mm.
Just completely just traumatized this kid.
I know what you're
He got caught. He was extradited. His that kid's daddy, Gary Brochet, if I remember was what his name was, nailed that dude with a 38 right in the ear at the airport on live TV.
Yep, that is sure
And when
true.
the DA was,
there's a famous case in Germany too, where like a mother shot the guy who raped her daughter, her little girl, in the courtroom.
Yeah, let me tell you something. If someone if someone ever did that to my son or my daughter, I guarantee you, I would be being tried by 12.
Now, see, I don't think it's right, but if I was on the jury, the person would walk.
Well, so with this guy, we know for Robbie, for this guy, obviously he should. No, not kill him. I'm saying should he? The question here is should he be allowed to have to I don't know, sell his jizz or whatever he's doing, rent it.
If he's dead, he can't sell anything. That's the point.
That's not the question. You're not answering my question.
Yes,
should a pedophile who continues to be alive,
point is clear.
A pedophile who continues to be alive, should he be allowed to procreate, or should they be made eunuchs?
Listen, if you want to keep this dude alive, you send him to some gated community over in Guam or someplace, that little island off of India with all the cannibal Indians.
Might tip over, though. He looks kind of tubby.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, perfect. My solution, I think, is more ecologically sound. You use rope; it's biodegradable. There's no problem with lead poisoning.
Didn't back in the day in the UK that if you were like convicted of pedophilia or something like that, that they Lorena Bobbited you or something?
I don't know. Never heard that.
Maybe. I mean,
they were made eunuchs.
But what's the point? What's the point? Seriously,
so
what's
that
the
they
point?
Don't use their.
The dude is a predator.
The snake doesn't have to ever get out of the cage because the snake is gone.
Well, so I'm against the death penalty primarily because what if you find out later the dude's innocent and that's primarily the main reason not to have the death penalty. The system makes too many mistakes. Ask Ethel Rosenberg.
Well, with this dude, I mean, they've got this fat bastard sending videos of himself to some underage boy. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that he's guilty. And in my book,
even so.
I mean, they got him dead to rights on that. That's for sure.
Look, he did a relatively it's a real problematic thing because it's like the rate of recidivism for sex offenders like of this kind is really high. And,
yes.
And
they're dead.
And they released him after just 2 months. So obviously
that's crazy.
He can run around in the community. On the other hand, it's like basically what you really want is for the community to be safe from a dude like this. And I don't know how you achieve that shy of just keeping them in prison forever. But we couldn't afford to put all of these people in prison for the rest of their lives because there's so many of them. I mean, I never would have.
The most prolific child abuser, Jeffrey Epstein, was in and out of, but I mean, obviously he got a sweetheart deal, right?
Once, yeah.
Okay, so from a cost analysis, Ted, which plan is more fiscally sound? Mine or yours?
No, clearly your plan is more fiscally conservative. No question about that.
No, what's the problem?
No, it's extremely vexing. So the part that I have compassion for, and Manila, you said like it's not normal. I'm going to take issue with you on that. So until
what did I say is not normal?
Like having sexual attraction to people under the age of 18. I don't. Okay, be very clear here. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. I've always been
attracted to
older ladies.
Boy.
But the point is that, like, in Western society, it's only for the last 200 years at most in Western Europe that the idea that kids should be protected in any way, shape, or form ever popped up. It was totally like common. 200-300 years ago, and before that, for adults to have sex with 12-year-old, 13-year-old.
But it was also normal.
And in most of the world today, that's still normal. I mean,
it was also normal to have slaves, and I'm not going to normalize that
either. That's
either.
correct.
So,
and so, so I'm glad you brought up that analogy.
I find it unacceptable. Period.
Well, okay, but capitalists still want slavery. They're working hard to get us to zero income. They're working hard. That's slavery, is what zero income is. So why? Because they're still, rolling old style, and that's what these pedophiles are like. They're basically, they didn't get the memo. Like you're not allowed to fuck anyone under the age of 18. And so, they're attracted. The issue here is, I think, look, society changed. I think it was a great change, a positive change. I'm glad we made this change, and I think it should be enforced. The question is, but do you just sort of say millions of dudes, they're just gross and like Robbie, hang them? Or, I don't know, Manila, what your solution is, tracking bracelet, prison, guarded apartment, I don't know, like, whatever, geld them. Or do we, what do we do about this? There has to be some sort of,
chemical
I don't think you could just sort of say, you have to acknowledge that it's not like, they can't help it, right? Like, probably nobody wants to be born attracted to children, right? So it's not good for you. It's illegal. And of course, obviously, it harms the children.
I don't know the psyche. I don't know the psyche behind that. If some, I'm not going to say all, obviously, maybe some might understand that this is an unacceptable predilection.
Oh, I think
but
there's a lot of people who are attracted to children and choose not to act on it. They control themselves, right?
But here's the thing, Ted.
And those people, frankly, have my admiration.
It's more normal for a guy to be attracted to a girl, because biology, that's the thing, than a dude who's attracted to a little boy.
Although we know
we're not saying that's not historically.
That
we're not saying that's not historically
like in Afghanistan,
uncommon.
Persia,
we know that.
those cultures. It's so Manila, you worked in the Middle East. You know that the boogering of little boys is really common.
I know, and that's why some cultures
and marrying off little 10, 12-year-old girls. I mean, I lived in the Middle East. I know.
Right. So know. It's
I
not
know.
like it's
just
not
because it's not.
You can't really
just
say
because
that
it's not uncommon doesn't mean that it's morally right.
Correct, but it doesn't. But if something's common, it's by definition normal.
Okay, so I used the wrong word. I'm sorry. We're playing semantics here, but
guilty.
I don't care. I don't care how Ted's just saying that, like picking at these words. It's. I would say
it's our job. We're journalists. We work with words.
It is bad morals. I personally,
of course, it's immoral because children are helpless and they can't, by definition, can't provide consent. So of course,
for the same reason that you shouldn't go. If you're a male nurse and there's a woman that's unconscious in a coma and you are banging her,
immoral.
That's unconscionable.
Or
that's
immoral. Or if you're a frat bro and you meet a girl at a party and she's had 16 drinks and she's unconscious, that's immoral too, right?
That's immoral and unconscionable.
No question, right? So the question though is like, okay, Robbie, I got a question for you. A dude who has the predilection but never acts on it ever. You have a problem with him?
There's no crime.
Do you ever? But it's about what's in his heart.
Well,
every time he sees your little boy at the pool, he's like, I'd eat that.
But the thing is, if it's in his heart, never acts on it, Ted, how would I know? I'm not God. I'm not a psychic. I can't read this dude's mind.
I mean, theoretically, how do you feel about it?
I couldn't answer that question because, again, I wouldn't know. But now I'll tell you what: if you ever touch my son, I'd kill him.
Well, we're talking about a different person because in my example,
I mean that.
But yeah, that's how could you ever know what's in someone's heart?
I cannot know what's in your heart unless you act on it. Just like, for example, y'all know.
Hey, I want to murder people all the time. I just don't act on it.
Yeah,
I mean, y'all know a public persona on me. I've neither one of y'all in person. The same thing for the people who are watching the show. Y'all know what y'all see on the screen, but I mean, y'all don't know anything about me. If I'm just talking to some dude, I don't know who you are until you show me.
And you don't know what's in someone's heart. Like it's like my colleague, the first black editorial cartoonist to ever win the Pulitzer, who's currently awaiting trial in Sacramento for child porn distribution and downloading. I had no idea. I've known him, seen him off and on for years. He's just like a big, heavy-set, bearded fellow, and that's and it's hard to believe that he was into this shit. He's married with kids. Had no idea.
Yeah, well, that's just the thing, right? I mean, it's just like I had a former family friend. I thought the dude was perfectly normal. He and his wife were starting to have a nasty divorce. I let him come and crash at my old house, and it turns out the guy was a complete total creep. I had no idea, because his public face is completely different to what his private face was.
Sure.
And so that's the thing, right? I mean, we're all flawed people. We're all sinners. That's why Jesus went to the cross for us, because we all have that we all have that problem. We all have
So what about forgiving the pederasts then?
That's God's job, not mine.
Well, I don't think it's our job to kill anyone. But anyway.
Yeah, this is a Pennsylvania and California issue. I think.
Y'all asked me my opinion. I'm giving it to you.
We know that's your opinion. All right, we'll leave that there because we're out of time. Thank you, Robbie. So Ted, again, I'm going to say I'm conflicted because there's an issue of natural rights.
No, I understand. We heard all that. We got to keep going because it's already 11:14. We got 2 more stories to go through, and they're both important.
There's still 2 more?
Yeah. We got to pick up the pace here. All right. Some passengers were terrified, convinced the plane was going down. One traveler said it was the roughest flight he'd ever taken. A woman on board said she thought she was experiencing an earthquake. Severe turbulence struck a Delta
in the
flight.
Air?
Yeah.
Who is this woman?
A severe turbulence struck a Delta flight going from Salt Lake to Amsterdam on Wednesday, sending service carts and unbelted passengers into the air and forcing an emergency landing in Minnesota, where 25 people on board were taken to hospital. Delta Flight 56 landed safely at Minneapolis-St. Paul, was met by medical teams upon arrival. The video shows fire rescue vehicles waiting on the tarmac as the plane landed. When the turbulence hit, Joseph Carbone grabbed his wife's hand and braced for the worst. I truly thought the plane was going to go down, he told CNN. As items flew into the air and passengers around him screamed, Carbone watched as a flight attendant just about crashed into the ceiling. The flight likely hit severe turbulence over southwestern Wyoming, in a place that had previously been identified as a potential trouble spot by federal aviation forecasters earlier in the day. 25 people on board were taken to area hospitals for evaluation and care. Turbulence is one of the most unpredictable of all weather phenomena, and researchers show that severe turbulence is becoming more likely as the planet warms. If an aircraft strikes turbulence, the most turbulent air can cause injuries or even death, as well as structural damage to the plane. Singapore Airlines flight from London encountered severe turbulence in 2014. 31 people were in 2024. 31 people were injured and 1 died. Passengers aboard the Boeing 777-300ER told the BBC the plane began to tilt and shake before dropping suddenly, and people and objects were thrown around the cabin. According to a 2024 study, aircrafts encounter moderate to severe or greater turbulence 68,000 times a year. Turbulence is defined as an irregular motion of air caused by eddies and vertical currents, and is associated with weather events like fronts with wind shear and thunderstorms. It can cause a few uncomfortable bumps or throw an aircraft completely out of control and even cause it to crash, inducing chaotic rolls, pitches, and yaws. So, look, this is a big deal. Look, this is the news you can use segment. Next time you're on the plane, don't be like Ted Rall. Always keep your seatbelt on whenever you're in your seat.
When you're seated.
And even if you just have it on, a little loose, just have it on so that if something like that happens, your head's not smashing into the roof.
I do that. Having, had many passports filled, I had to get extra pages. So I've flown a bazillion times. Just as a general rule of thumb, I thought ahead of time. I think, well, you never know when you might hit a pocket of turbulence. So I always
And
buckled.
they do tell you that. They do say, like,
Yeah,
when you're seated, please keep your
Just
safety belt shafted, on. Although we are turning off the fasten seatbelt light, blah blah blah. But still,
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I
still,
have
as
to admit,
a
I'm one of
good
those
rule of
people. I
thumb-
just don't like. I don't like to follow rules. I don't like seatbelts. I didn't want masks during COVID. So, like, I get it. It's kind of like a constraining feeling. It's nice to be able to just breathe, but just keep it on. It doesn't have to be tight, but keep it on.
Yeah, it's
keep it on.
This is probably the worst.
Obviously,
flight.
it can happen when you're walking to the bathroom. Can you imagine, like, if you're in the toilet and that happens? Everything comes
Oh my
flying
God.
out.
I always think that. I'm like, what if we hit a pocket of turbulence and I'm right now on the can?
That could be you. Like, you'd be like in one of those episodes of Jackass where they pick up the
Oh God, it'd be awful.
sanitary-
Everything's shaking around me, flying around me
Yeah.
that'd be really bad. But yeah, this is.
But your
this is probably
odds
the
are
worst
that's not when it's going
story.
to happen, right?
No. But this is still the worst story. And then I'm surprised that nobody died because people were like flung to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's.
Well, people have died
amazing.
from this sort of event. There was a flight from LAX to Honolulu a few years back where the plane lost thousands of feet of altitude within a second. And well, look, I've been on a plane where it wasn't turbulence, but there was a mini disaster. There was a crisis, and the plane lost thousands of feet within a second or two. And all the luggage came out of the overheads, jumped, falling on top of everybody. There were injuries. People bashed their head into the roof.
I mean, you can break your neck.
I saw a flight attendant go
easily.
all the way up to the ceiling. So
oh my God.
I was 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Icelandic Air.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I flew them.
It was supposed to be New York to Brussels, but instead it became New York to Reykjavik.
Oh, I was on Icelandic Air earlier this year.
Well, it's back when I took it, it was a discount carrier. So
it's still like low price fare.
Oh, is it? Like sort of like Aer Lingus, the most obscenely named national carrier. They are like a low cost carrier, even though it's a flag carrier.
Right. All right.
I would never fly Aer Lingus again, by the way. That's another news.
Because of the name.
No, because Aer Lingus sucks. They'll cancel your reservation and make you buy a new ticket at like 3 times the price. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So fuck them.
That is one I've never flown.
All right.
Emirates Air though, Ted. I'll just say Emirates Air.
Oh well, it's the gold standard, platinum standard.
I mean,
the Piprawa gems have been returned to India. I know you were worried about this after 127 years. That, according to the Indian government, the collection of gems is considered sacred by Buddhists and is believed to be linked to the Buddha himself, much like me and Clovis. The discovery dates back to 1898, when British estate manager William Claxton Pepe excavated an ancient monument in Piprawa in northern India near the Buddha's birthplace. He unearthed a chest containing nearly 1,800 pearls, rubies, sapphires, and other gems and gold pieces, alongside bone fragments and an urn attributing the remains to the Buddha. Pepe relinquished most of the relics to the colonial Indian government, but kept over 300, for himself. Pepe's descendants planned to auction off the collection through Sotheby's this year before the Indian government threatened legal action. Sotheby's said it negotiated a sale of the collection to Mumbai-based conglomerate Godrej Industries Group for an undisclosed sum. The jewels will now go on permanent display in India. So I guess they don't belong to the Indian government now. They belong to a corporation that is in India that will allow the public to see them.
That's very confusing.
They're in India, but they're not.
Okay, so it's in its home.
They don't belong to the Indian people.
Huh.
They belong to an Indian company.
So according to Sotheby's from a few months ago, these are the sacred jewels. It says they were found with the corporal remains of the Buddha, like the Buddha.
How can not like a Buddha, but like how can Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't the Buddha like shed his corporeal form when he achieved enlightenment? So therefore there should be no remains? I mean, we need a Buddhist to pipe in here. We have a lot of Buddhists watch the TMI show. It's very popular in Tibet. So, like, you know, you guys need to chime in.
Sure. So when he shed this human form and went on to his next of hundreds of lives, why was he buried with jewels? I thought his whole life was about living with nothing.
He didn't go on to hundreds of lives. He achieved enlightenment. The whole point is, for a Buddhist, once you achieve enlightenment, that's it. There's no more reincarnation.
Once you hit nirvana, there's no more. But I thought Buddhists believe in reincarnation.
They do, but he's the exception. The reason that he's special is
because he reached nirvana.
Because he reached enlightenment.
It's different than nirvana?
Yes.
And I don't mean the band.
So the Buddha is said to have achieved parinirvana, not nirvana, upon his death at the age of 80 in Kushinagar, India. That's the final liberation from the cycle of birth and death, where the physical body ceases and no further rebirth occurs. Okay, all right, so there was a body. So the Buddha did shed his corporeal body at death, as all humans do, but in his case, it marked the complete cessation of existence in the material realm, thus achieving ultimate liberation. And some traditions speak of the Buddha manifesting in non-physical forms, like the Dharmakaya, or truth body, or appearing in celestial realms. But these are metaphysical concepts, not a continuation of his physical body. Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism focuses more on his physical death as the end of his corporeal form. So he did. I was wrong about that. I'm glad we cleared that up. I always thought that he's sort of like, whoa, like Jesus. You know, after Jesus is reincarnated, he hangs out for like a year or so with his buds, and then he ascends to the heavens in front of everybody. Like, see ya.
Right.
Now, we don't know what happened to his corporeal form. We kind of assume he's not in corporeal form up in heaven, right?
Well, when he's in the cave,
he's back at home with his father, God.
Right. Well, so his body disappears from the cave somehow, right? So.
Well, he what do you mean somehow? He was reincarnated. I mean, he was resurrected. He's in there dead for a few days.
Right. For 3 days.
He wakes up alive, pushes the stone out of the grotto, and he goes out and decides to go for a walk. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the body's
still there.
Reanimate.
And don't forget, it's the same body. Don't forget, right? He ran into Thomas, his disciple, and his disciple Thomas was like, I don't know. Like, this feels sketch to me. And then, doubting Thomas, right?
I was at your funeral.
And he's like, dude, I saw you up there on that cross. And it's like, oh, you really want to be sure it's me? And then he put Thomas's hand in his wound in his chest that had been punctured made by the Roman centurion. Like, digging around, like, see? And then he was like, oh shit, it's you, Lord. I'm sorry, my bad. And Jesus is like, of course. And then so we know that
I told you.
Yeah, like, dude. So he dies. He's resurrected in the same corpse. Now it's reanimated. Zombie style. He's back, and he hangs out for like a year or so.
Yeah,
he has adventures.
So where I'm confused with the Buddhism is the Buddha, the original.
Well, what do you mean? There's only one. There aren't other Buddhai.
Well, people are saying, they're Buddhists, so you can.
Well, they're Buddhists, but they're not Buddhas.
So the Buddha.
They're the person. I mean, there are Buddhists who have booty, but that's different.
So I'm still confused. So he then, because he was the highest enlightened person,
Yeah.
as a person, he therefore never gets to.
He never reincarnated.
He doesn't want to. You don't get
have
to be reincarnated because you don't want to. Like,
Right,
why?
basi-
Is
well,
that the
basic-
idea? Is like you don't
the
want to
idea
be
is that
reincarnated?
the idea is that as a Buddhist, you keep being relived because you never got. It's kind of like Groundhog
Until you
Day.
get it right.
You never got it right for asking out Andy McDowell, and so
Right.
you keep trying to get it right. And basically, the argument here is that only the Buddha ever got it right.
Right. So when you finally get it right, then you'll be free of this horrible skin suit.
Correct. Well, you'll be
Okay.
free. You'll just be, you will be free of the cycle. The
Of
cycle of
constant
birth and
rebirth.
death is viewed as a bit of a burden.
Okay.
Like it's kind of like, it's a lot. Like I was a taxi driver, and before that I was a farm worker, and before that I was, emperor, and before that
Maybe you were a
I was
cat
a
at one point.
prostitute, and maybe before that I was a cat. Maybe before that I was a dragonfly. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's
Before
very
that, maybe I
confusing.
was like a toad.
But if the whole point of practicing Buddhism, which the Buddha kind of started the thing, why was he buried, his corporal body buried with stuff if he chose to shed the stuff? Because as I remember,
he shed his corporeal form.
no. The whole point of Buddhism is like for example, Buddhist monks in Laos, they are
poverty.
prohibited. They are prohibited from owning stuff.
Correct.
So that's why you go give them alms when you walk down the streets. Every morning they sit outside and do chants and prayers, and they have their alms buckets out there, and the neighborhood people come feed them and give them meals and stuff, because they're not even allowed to own food, right? Like this is being given to them. So why then did the Buddha, in his death, why was he buried with jewels? That's the part that confuses me.
I think that's a really excellent question, Manila. And obviously, we weren't here, back in 483.
Or maybe we were.
Oh, right. Yeah, you and I were here, but
maybe.
And then the Buddha stopped being here.
And according to the Zoomers, we are that old, so we should.
That's true, and older than that. Yeah.
So, that's where I'm confused.
Now I'm going to say,
maybe I need to brush up on my Buddhist history, but I remember learning in college that the Buddha, I forget what his birth name was, but he was like
Siddhartha Gautama.
Thank you. He was born to like a wealthy family, never left the walls of the palace or whatever, and then when it went, for whatever reason, he got a peek outside and saw this despair, and then he kind of ran away and went out there and meditated under the Bodhi tree and was like, how do I fix despair? And then, I don't know, somehow became the enlightened one, and then started this whole religion.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how I remember it from college.
Yeah,
but the whole point was that he shed the shackles of his family's like earthly belongings.
Right. So why would you? No, look, it seems inconsistent, but then so is, Christianity, right? Like he was a Jewish rabbi, and it's like, so and then also he asks us to shed all of our material possessions to follow him, and yet, we built a lot of spectacularly gorgeous, expensive churches to honor him, which I have to say, if he came back, he would probably be kind of pissed off.
Yeah.
He was against all that kind of thing. Anyway.
Well, we're not experts in this. We got to go. Have a great weekend. Go be enlightened. I would like to be enlightened. I don't know how I get there.
Well,
I think I needed to go.
The troubles and tribulations of your life, Manila, are key to get you closer to enlightenment. It's all about how you navigate those. If your life is too easy, you will never achieve it.
Which Siddhartha's was.
Well, but it wasn't after he was like, as you just
No,
said.
it was.
He was,
and
very,
then when he escaped the walls,
and when he saw the suffering,
and he
got to him.
suffered.
The suffering got to him. And I think the idea is if he'd already been born to the suffering, his empathy would not have hit him as hard. So it was because he was soft, and then he saw how hard it was for everyone else that he kind of like cracked.
So maybe, Ted, that could explain Netanyahu's reasoning in Gaza. He's helping them get enlightened.
Well, they're a lot closer to getting enlightened than he is. That's for sure.
But I'm just saying, maybe he's helping them get enlightened. That's the argument.
Yeah.
There you
go. That
go.
could well be true. Yeah.
So I guess I need to watch this one this weekend because you say I need to
like
get a good laugh and Gen X humor.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. I guess I got to go watch Old Dads. So, and I love Bill Burr. And like Robbie, I believe Bill Burr's wife is black.
Okay, then.
Yeah, Robbie's not here. Okay, he's not there.
All
All
right.
right, anyway, have a great weekend, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Have a great weekend. Thanks
Bye,
for being
Manila.
here. Smash that like button. Don't forget.
Like, follow, and share.
All of that stuff.
Or
have a great weekend.
Or you'll be reincarnated as a toad.
Might be better for some people.
Yeah.
Don't know. Have a great weekend, everybody. Adios, amigos. Bye.